Captain Lee Minho stood in the center of the Galactic Council chambers, feeling the weight of 1,000 hostile eyes upon him. The massive dome stretched high above, filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Each species sat in their designated sections, their alien forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes that would have been beautiful, if not for the anger radiating from them. The air tasted bitter in his mouth. He had been standing here for 3 hours, defending humanity's actions during the Outer Rim conflicts. Every word he spoke seemed to make things worse. "The humans ran away again," said Counselor Vrextal, his dragon-like head rising high above the others. His scales gleamed red in the chamber's light and smoke drifted from his nostrils. "When the pirates attacked Kepler Station, where were the human ships? Gone. Evacuated like cowards." Minho kept his face calm, though his hands wanted to make fists. "We saved 12,000 civilians from that station. Our ships carried them to safety while real warriors died fighting." Vrextal's voice boomed through the chamber. "The Altarian fleet lost 60 ships defending that station. The Centauri forces lost 30 more. And humans? Not one ship stayed to fight." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Ambassador Clicks, her insect-like form clicking and buzzing, spoke next. "The human pattern is clear. When danger comes, they run. They take others with them, yes, but they run." Dr. Park Ji-won, sitting in the human delegation area, stood up. Her voice was steady and professional. "Council members, our data shows that human evacuation protocols saved over 2 million civilian lives during the Outer Rim conflicts. Our medical ships treated wounded from every species. Our engineering teams rebuilt damaged stations faster than—" "Support roles," interrupted Counselor Threx, a massive bear-like alien whose fur bristled with irritation. "Humans are good at support, but when the shooting starts, they disappear." Minho stepped forward. "Council, we prefer to solve problems without violence when possible. This does not make us cowards. It makes us smart." Laughter erupted from several sections. Vrextal's laugh was the loudest, a rumbling sound like an earthquake. "Smart or scared? Every species in this galaxy knows the difference between courage and fear." The chamber fell silent as High Counselor Zephys, an ancient being whose energy form flickered between blue and white, spoke. "Captain Minho, humanity has been part of our galactic community for 50 years. In that time, your species has provided excellent medical care, outstanding engineering support, and remarkable diplomatic solutions. But when it comes to military action, your record is concerning." Minho felt his heart sink. This was worse than he had expected. "High Counselor, humans have participated in 17 peacekeeping missions." "As support only," Zephys interrupted. "Never as frontline combat forces. The galaxy needs warriors, Captain. We need species that will stand and fight when darkness comes." "But we do fight," Minho said. "We fight to save lives. We fight to find peaceful solutions. We fight to rebuild what others destroy." Vrextal snorted, sending a small puff of flame into the air. "Pretty words. But when the next real threat comes, will humans hide behind their evacuation ships again?" Dr. Park stood again. "If I may, Counsel, I would like to present our analysis of human effectiveness in crisis situations." She activated a holographic display that showed charts and graphs. "Human response times to emergency calls are 40% faster than the galactic average. Our rescue operations have a 96% success rate. Our diplomatic interventions have prevented 12 wars in the past decade." "Statistics," said Ambassador Clicks dismissively. "Numbers cannot replace courage." Minho watched the faces around him. Some showed disgust. Others showed pity. A few seemed bored, as if humanity's fate was already decided. "Council, we ask that you judge us not just on how we fight, but on what we achieve." High Counselor Zephys's form brightened slightly. "Captain, the galaxy respects human achievements in many areas, but military strength is essential for survival. A species that cannot or will not fight cannot be trusted with important security responsibilities." "Then what are you saying?" Minho asked, though he already knew the answer. "The Council votes to restrict human military access," Zephys announced. "Human forces will be limited to support roles only. No human ship will be given weapons beyond basic defensive systems. No human officer will command mixed-species combat units." The chamber erupted in cheers from most sections. The human delegation sat in stunned silence. 50 years of trying to prove themselves, and this was the result. Dr. Park touched Minho's arm gently. "We knew this might happen," she whispered. Minho nodded, but the pain was still sharp. He had served in the human military for 20 years before becoming an ambassador. He had seen human soldiers risk everything to save others. He had watched human engineers work for days without sleep to repair damaged ships. He had witnessed human doctors treat wounded aliens while under enemy fire, but none of that mattered now. Rextal was still speaking, his voice filled with satisfaction. "Perhaps this will teach humans that the galaxy requires strength, not just clever words and rescue missions." As the council members prepared to leave, alarms suddenly filled the chamber. Emergency lights flashed red and an urgent message appeared on every display screen. High Counselor Zephas's form turned bright white with alarm. "Council members, we have received an emergency transmission from the Outer Rim. Long-range sensors have detected unknown ships approaching from beyond the galactic edge. The vessels are massive, numbering in the thousands, and they are destroying everything in their path." The chamber fell silent. Even Vrextal's flames dimmed as he stared at the tactical display that appeared in the center of the room. "The ships have already destroyed 3 solar systems," Zephas continued. "No survivors. No communication attempts. They seem intent on total destruction." Counselor Threx stood up, his massive form trembling slightly. "What are these ships? Who controls them?" "Unknown," Zephas replied. "We are calling them the Void Reapers until we learn more. All galactic defense fleets are being mobilized immediately." Minho felt a chill run down his spine. 3 entire solar systems gone. Billions of lives wiped out without warning. Dr. Park was already working on her datapad, accessing human deep space monitoring networks. "Captain," she whispered urgently, "our early warning systems detected unusual energy signatures in that region 6 months ago. We filed reports, but no one paid attention. 6 months. Humanity had seen this coming and no one had listened." Brextal was organizing the Dragon Fleet, his voice booming orders across communication channels. Other species were doing the same, preparing their strongest ships for battle. But Minho found himself thinking about evacuation routes and civilian populations. While others planned to fight these Void Reapers, he was already calculating how many people they could save if the military response failed. And deep in his heart, he wondered if humanity's so-called cowardice might be exactly what the galaxy would need when facing an enemy that destroyed entire worlds without mercy. The chamber emptied as council members rushed to prepare their fleets. Minho and Dr. Park walked slowly toward the exit, carrying the weight of their species' shame and the terrible knowledge that something far worse than military restrictions was coming for them all. Commander Kim Tae-hyung floated in the observation deck of Deepwatch Station, a human monitoring post hidden in the asteroid belt of the Vega system. Through the transparent aluminum windows he could see the stars, peaceful and eternal. But peace was about to end. His communication console chirped softly. "Commander, this is Analyst Choi Yuna. I need you to see something immediately." Tae-hyung pushed himself toward the main control room, his magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor as artificial gravity took hold. Deepwatch Station was one of 50 similar posts scattered throughout the galaxy, all built in secret over the past 30 years. While other species focused on building bigger weapons and stronger shields, humans had chosen to build eyes and ears. Choi Yuna was hunched over her workstation, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. Charts, graphs, and star maps surrounded her like a glowing cocoon. Dark circles under her eyes showed she had been working for hours without rest. "What do you have?" Tae-hyung asked, settling into the chair beside her. "Something terrible," Yuna replied, her voice tight with worry. "I've been tracking the Void Reapers' movement since they appeared. Everyone thinks they're just destroying everything randomly, but they're not." She manipulated the display, showing a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy's edge. Red dots marked the locations where the Void Reapers had attacked. At first glance, they seemed scattered, but as Yuna highlighted them in sequence, a pattern emerged. "They're following energy signatures," she continued. "Specific quantum resonance patterns that match advanced technology centers. They hit the Altarian research station first, then the Centauri defense grid, then the Draconian weapons testing facility." Tae-hyung studied the pattern. "They're not random destroyers. They're hunting something." "Exactly. And based on the energy signatures they're tracking, I think I know what they're looking for." Yuna's hands trembled slightly as she brought up another display. "Neural network quantum cores. The advanced computer systems that coordinate fleet movements and military strategies." The implications hit Tae-hyung like a physical blow. They're hunting military intelligence. It gets worse, Yuna said. I've been monitoring Galactic Fleet communications. Admiral Sun Heejin's patrol group is 3 light years from the nearest Reaper force, and she's receiving pressure from Earth Command to stay back and observe. Taehyung activated his secure communication link. Get me Admiral Sun immediately. The holographic image of Admiral Sun Heejin appeared moments later. Her ship's bridge was visible behind her. Crew members working frantically at their stations. She looked tired and frustrated. Commander Taehyung, I hope you have good news because I'm getting nothing but bad orders from Earth Command. What's your current situation, Admiral? Terrible, Heejin replied bluntly. General Vorth's main battle fleet engaged the Reapers in the Kepler sector 6 hours ago. It was a massacre. 200 ships went in. 12 came out. Taehyung felt his stomach drop. 12 out of 200. The survivors are barely coherent, Heejin continued. But they all say the same thing. The Reapers fought like they knew exactly what our forces would do. Every tactical move, every formation change, every strategy. The Reapers were ready for all of it. Yuna leaned into the communication range. Admiral, this is Analyst Choi. The Reapers aren't just advanced. They're specifically designed to counter galactic military doctrine. They've studied how we fight. Heejin's expression grew grim. That would explain why Earth Command wants us to stay back. We're supposed to evacuate civilians and gather intelligence, but we're forbidden from engaging. The galaxy thinks we're being cowards again, Taehyung said. Let them think that. Heejin replied, I'd rather be called a coward than lead my people into a slaughter. But Commander, there's something else. The evacuation missions are working too well. What do you mean? My ships have rescued civilians from 6 different worlds now. The Reapers see us coming and they don't even try to stop us. It's like they don't consider us a threat worth engaging. Taehyung exchanged glances with Yuna, or they don't recognize human tactics because we don't follow standard galactic doctrine. 3 hours later, Taehyung received an emergency signal from Captain On Minjae, commander of the rescue ship Mercy's Wings. The transmission was weak and filled with static, coming from the outer edge of Reaper-controlled space. Deep Watch Station. This is Mercy's Wings. We just completed evacuation of Sigma Colony. Population of 40,000 all safely aboard our ships. Good work, Captain. What's your status? That's the strange part, Commander. The Reapers had a full battle group orbiting the planet. They watched us load civilians for 6 hours. They never fired a shot. It's like we were invisible to them. Taehyung frowned. Any communication attempts from the Reapers? None. But we picked up a survivor from the Altarian Defense Fleet. A civilian named Noxhar. He has information about how the Reapers fight. Bring him to Deep Watch immediately. 4 hours later, Noxhar sat in Deep Watch Station's medical bay, wrapped in thermal blankets and trembling despite the warm temperature. He was a tall, thin alien with gray skin and large black eyes that seemed to see too much. They knew everything, he said in a whisper. Every move Admiral Threx made, every formation change, every weapon deployment. The Reapers reacted before our ships even finished moving. Dr. Park Jiwon, who had arrived from Earth that morning, leaned forward. Did they use any recognizable technology? Their ships were unlike anything I've ever seen, Noxhar replied. But their tactics were familiar. Like they had studied our military academies. Like they knew our training manuals better than we did. Yuna spoke up from her workstation. I've been analyzing combat recordings from the survivors. The Reapers use 17 different counter-strategies, all of which are taught in the Galactic Military Academy as responses to standard attack formations. They've been watching us, Taehyung realized, studying galactic warfare for who knows how long. Dr. Park pulled up her research data. I've been analyzing the energy signatures the Reapers are tracking. They match the quantum resonance patterns of neural network cores, yes, but specifically the cores used in galactic military command systems. They're hunting the source of galactic tactical knowledge. Which means, Taehyung said slowly, every time our fleets engage them using standard tactics, we're giving them exactly what they expect. Heejin's image appeared on the communication screen again. Commander, I'm receiving new orders from Earth Command. All human vessels are being recalled for special briefings. What kind of briefings? The kind that involve forgetting everything the Galactic Military Academies taught us, and remembering how humans used to fight before we joined the galaxy. Taehyung felt a chill of understanding. For 50 years, humanity had tried to fit in with galactic military standards. They had learned alien tactics, alien strategies, alien ways of thinking about warfare. But before joining the galaxy, humans had fought very differently. "Admiral, how long do we have?" "The Reapers will reach the core worlds in 3 weeks. Maybe less if they maintain their current pace." Tae-hyung looked around the control room. Yuna was still analyzing data, her screen showing the relentless advance of the Void Reapers. Dr. Park was reviewing everything they knew about Reaper technology. And somewhere out there, human rescue ships continued their work, invisible to an enemy that had learned to fight everything except them. "Admiral," Tae-hyung said finally, "what did Earth Command tell you about engaging the enemy?" "They said to prepare for active combat but to use human protocols exclusively. No galactic standard tactics. No formation flying. No coordinated strategies from the military academy. Just human instincts." "Just human instincts," Heejun confirmed. "The same instincts that the galaxy has been calling cowardice for 50 years. Tae-hyung stared out at the stars, knowing that somewhere among them, an enemy was coming that had mastered every form of galactic warfare except one. The one form that the galaxy had rejected as weak, ineffective, and cowardly. The human way of fighting. And for the first time since the Void Reapers appeared, Tae-hyung allowed himself to hope that being called cowards might actually save them all. Captain An Min-jae watched through the view screen as another galactic fleet died in the void. The Centauri Home Defense Force had lasted exactly 47 minutes against the Void Reapers. 130 ships reduced to glowing debris and emergency beacons. His rescue ship, Hope's Dawn, moved carefully through the wreckage, scanning for survivors. Behind him, Engineer Lim Sora coordinated the search and rescue operation with efficient precision. "Captain, we have life signs from Escape Pod Cluster 7, she reported. 12 survivors, mixed species. "Bring them aboard," Min-jae ordered. "Medical team to Docking Bay 2. It was the same pattern every time. The galactic forces would engage the Reapers with standard formation tactics. The Reapers would respond with perfect counter-strategies. Within an hour, proud fleets would become scattered debris fields. And then the human rescue ships would arrive, moving through Reaper forces like ghosts. The enemy ships would watch them work, never firing, never interfering. It was as if the Reapers saw no threat in vessels designed for rescue rather than combat. "Captain," called Navigation Officer Park Dong-hyun from his station, "we're receiving a communication from Counselor Threx. He's requesting immediate evacuation support for his homeworld." Min-jae felt surprise. Threx had been one of humanity's harshest critics in the Council. The proud warrior who had laughed at human cowardice was now asking for help. "Put him through." Threx's massive bear-like form appeared on the screen, his fur matted and his eyes showing deep exhaustion. Behind him, explosions lit up the bridge of his command ship. "Captain Min-jae, my world is under attack. The Reapers have broken through our outer defenses. Our military is fighting, but..." Threx's voice cracked slightly. "We need evacuation ships. For our civilians. For our children." Min-jae kept his voice steady and professional. "Counselor, how many people need evacuation?" 6 million in the capital city alone. 15 million across the planet." Threx paused, his pride warring with necessity. "Captain, I know what I said about humans in the Council. I know how my people have treated yours. But please, help us." "We're already on our way," Min-jae replied. "All available human rescue vessels are being dispatched to your system. We'll have the first ships there in 6 hours." Tears formed in Threx's large eyes. "Why? After everything we said about you?" "Because it's the right thing to do," Min-jae said simply. As the communication ended, Lim Sora approached his chair. "Captain, we're going to need a miracle to evacuate that many people. The Reaper fleet has 50 capital ships in that system." "Then we'll give them a miracle," Min-jae replied. "Contact Admiral Sun Heejun. Tell her we need every transport ship she can spare." 8 hours later, the largest rescue operation in galactic history began. 37 human vessels entered the Threx system, where Reaper forces had already destroyed the planet's orbital defenses. The human ships moved in patterns that no military academy would recognize. Seemingly random approaches, irregular spacing, constant course corrections. The Reapers watched but did not engage. Min-jae commanded the operation from Hope's Dawn, coordinating with rescue teams on the surface. His ship could hold 3,000 people in emergency conditions. Around him, other human vessels were doing the same. cramming as many civilians as possible into every available space. "Captain," reported Communications Officer Kim Ji-soo, "Counselor Threx is requesting permission to come aboard. His command ship is heavily damaged." "Granted. Have him report to the medical bay." 20 minutes later, Threx stood in Minje's ready room, his massive frame hunched with defeat. His armor was scorched and dented, and his left arm was in a medical sling. "Captain, I need to understand something," Threx said quietly. "We called you cowards. We restricted your military access. We humiliated your people in the council. Why are you risking your lives to save us?" Minje gestured for Threx to sit, though the chair groaned under the alien's weight. "Counselor, may I ask you something first?" "Of course. When your people go to war, what do you fight for?" Threx considered the question. "Honor. Glory. To prove our strength and courage. When humans fight, we fight to protect life. Not just human life, all life." Minje moved to the view screen, where they could see his ship's rescue shuttles ferrying civilians from the planet's surface. "You called us cowards because we evacuated instead of fighting. But tell me, Counselor, how many of your people are alive right now because we chose evacuation over glory?" The question hit Threx like a physical blow. "My son is on one of your ships. My daughter. My grandchildren. If you had fought like warriors, if you had died with honor, they would all be dead now." "Exactly. The galaxy measures courage by how willing someone is to die fighting. Humans measure courage by how determined someone is to keep others alive." Threx was quiet for a long moment. "The Reapers, they fight like they know our every move, but they ignore you completely. That's because we don't fight like you do. We don't use galactic military doctrine. We don't follow the tactics they've learned to counter." "What tactics do you use?" Minje smiled grimly. "Chaos, improvisation, anything that works. We modify mining equipment into weapons. We use construction tools as shields. We turn civilian ships into rescue vessels and cargo haulers into troop transports. We do whatever saves the most lives with the least risk. That's not warfare as we understand it. No, it's not. And that's why the Reapers don't see us as a military threat. They've studied galactic warfare extensively, but they've never studied human warfare because the galaxy forced us to abandon human warfare." The rescue operation continued for 18 hours. Human ships made dozens of trips between the planet's surface and waiting transport vessels at the edge of the system. The Reapers maintained their orbital positions, occasionally engaging the remaining Threx military vessels, but completely ignoring the human rescue fleet. By the time the last civilian was evacuated, nearly 14 million people had been saved. The human ships departed the system just as the Reapers began their final bombardment of the planet's surface. Engineer Lim Sora found Minje on the observation deck hours later, staring out at the stars. "Captain, we've received confirmation from all rescue vessels. Everyone's accounted for. We didn't lose a single civilian." "Good," Minje replied. "How many people did we save in total?" "From this operation? 14,200,000, but including all our rescue missions over the past month." Sora checked her datapad. 47 million people. 47 million. Minje repeated the number softly. "If we had followed standard galactic military doctrine, if we had stood and fought like brave warriors, how many of those people would still be alive?" "None of them, Captain." Dr. Park Ji-won's voice came over the ship's communication system. "Captain Minje, please report to the research lab immediately. We've made a significant discovery about the Reapers." In the lab, Dr. Park stood before a holographic display showing detailed scans of Reaper vessels. "We've been analyzing the sensor data from every engagement. The Reapers aren't just using counter-tactics. They're using perfect counter-tactics onto what do you mean? Every defensive measure, every formation strategy, every tactical doctrine taught in galactic military academies. They have specific responses programmed for each one. It's like they have the complete galactic military database in their systems." Minje studied the display. "You're saying they're artificial intelligences? More than that. They're artificial intelligences specifically designed to fight galactic military doctrine. They were created by someone who studied our warfare extensively and built the perfect counterweapon. But they ignore human ships, because human tactics aren't in their database. We abandoned traditional human warfare when we joined the galaxy 50 years ago. We learned to fight like everyone else using galactic standard tactics. But what if..." Dr. Park paused, her expression growing excited. "What if we went back to fighting like humans?" Through the view screen, Minjae could see other human vessels in their rescue convoy, their hulls modified with extra passenger compartments and emergency life support systems. They didn't look like military ships. They looked like exactly what they were, vessels designed to save lives rather than take them. But hidden in their cargo bays were mining lasers, construction equipment and industrial tools that could be turned into weapons. Their crews included engineers who could modify anything into anything else, medics who thought faster under pressure than most military officers, and pilots who had learned to navigate asteroid fields and solar storms using nothing but intuition and improvisation. Dr. Park, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we've confirmed that the Reapers are designed to counter standard galactic military tactics. Recommend immediate implementation of pre-contact human warfare protocols. The Chaos Protocols? Dr. Park asked with surprise. The Chaos Protocols, and tell them to prepare every human ship for active combat duty, not support duty. Active combat. As Dr. Park sent the message, Minjae continued staring out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Void Reapers were advancing toward the core worlds, confident in their ability to destroy any galactic military force. But they had never faced an enemy that turned chaos into strategy, that used improvisation as a weapon, and that measured victory not by how many enemies died, but by how many. Fleet Admiral Yang Sung-ho stood in the command center of the human flagship Indomitable Will, watching tactical displays that showed the approaching Void Reapers. 3 weeks had passed since Earth Command authorized human forces to engage in active combat, and the transformation had been remarkable. Around him, human officers worked with controlled chaos that would have horrified traditional galactic military observers. Tactical Officer Bae Suman stood at her station, coordinating with ships across the fleet using protocols that seemed to have no pattern. Communications flowed constantly, but not through formal command channels. Instead, individual ship captains made decisions based on local conditions, shared information freely, and adapted their plans moment by moment. Admiral, called Communications Officer Lee Yoongi, we're receiving updates from all task forces. They're ready to begin Operation Wildfire. What's our enemy's strength? Yang asked. Dr. Kang Hyunwoo, the fleet's chief strategist, pulled up the latest intelligence data. 47 Reaper capital ships, approximately 300 support vessels. They're approaching in standard battle formation, exactly the kind of formation that galactic military doctrine would recommend for this type of engagement. And they expect us to respond with standard counter-formation tactics, Yang mused. Tactical Officer Bae, what does galactic doctrine say we should do? Bae Suman checked her screens. Form defensive lines, concentrate firepower, maintain formation integrity, and execute coordinated strikes against priority targets. She paused, then smiled. Of course, we're not going to do any of that. Correct. Dr. Kang, remind me why standard galactic tactics always fail. Dr. Kang activated a holographic display showing human evolutionary history. All major galactic species evolved as apex predators. They hunted large prey using strength, speed, and direct confrontation. Their military tactics reflect this. Overwhelming force, frontal assaults, demonstrations of power. And humans? Humans evolved as persistence hunters and scavengers. We tracked prey for days using endurance and teamwork. We adapted constantly, used tools creatively, and survived through cooperation rather than domination. Dr. Kang highlighted data points on the display. Human warfare evolved from completely different principles. We favor mobility over strength, adaptation over rigid planning, and creative problem-solving over brute force. Yang nodded, which is exactly why the galaxy called us cowards. We don't fight the way they expect warriors to fight. Captain Lee Minho's voice came over the communication system from his ship. Unexpected victory. Admiral, my mixed species units are in position. The alien crew members are struggling with our tactical approach. How so, Captain? They keep asking for their specific orders, their formation assignments, their target priorities. I keep telling them to improvise based on local conditions, and they think I'm joking. Yang chuckled. Give them time. They'll learn. Tactical Officer Bae, begin Phase 1 of Operation Wildfire. Yes, sir. All ships begin random scatter pattern. Repeat, begin random scatter pattern. Across the human fleet, ships that had been maintaining loose formation suddenly broke apart in what appeared to be complete chaos. Vessels scattered in every direction, some accelerating, others decelerating, all following seemingly random vectors. To outside observers, it looked like the human fleet was falling apart before the battle even began. The Void Reapers maintained their perfect battle formation, advancing steadily. Their artificial intelligence systems analyzed the human fleet's movements, searching for patterns, trying to predict intentions. But there were no patterns to find. "Admiral," reported sensor operator Kim Minseo, "the Reapers are maintaining course and speed. They're not reacting to our scatter pattern." "Of course not," Yang replied. "They've never seen anything like this before. Dr. Kang, what would standard galactic doctrine call our current formation?" "A complete disaster," Dr. Kang replied with a grin. "No coordination, no mutual support, no concentrated firepower. Any galactic military academy would fail us immediately." "Perfect. Captain Minho, begin Phase 2. On unexpected victory, Captain Lee Minho turned to his mixed crew. Counselor Vrextal stood beside him, the dragon alien still wearing bandages from his world's destruction but insisting on participating in the battle. "Listen carefully," Minho told his crew. "Forget everything you learned in military academy. From this moment on, you're not soldiers, you're improvisers." "Captain," said Vrextal uncertainly, "how can we fight effectively without coordination?" "Who says we're not coordinating? We just don't coordinate the way you expect." Minho activated his tactical display. "Look at our scattered fleet. Does it really look random to you?" Vrextal studied the positions more carefully. There are patterns, but they're not military patterns." "Exactly. They're human patterns, pack hunting patterns. We're surrounding the enemy without them realizing it, because we're not using formation structures they understand." Tactical Officer Bay's voice came over the fleet communication channel. "All ships, the enemy is entering Phase 2 range. Begin creative modification protocols." Throughout the human fleet, crews began transforming their vessels in ways that violated every principle of standard starship design. Mining lasers were disconnected from asteroid processing systems and mounted as forward weapons. Construction equipment was reconfigured into makeshift shield generators. Cargo holds were converted into fighter launch bays using nothing but industrial fabricators and human ingenuity. "Admiral," reported Engineering Officer Park, Seo-jin from the Indomitable Will's engine room, "we've successfully modified our matter recyclers into projectile weapons. We can now fire anything in our cargo holds as ammunition." "Excellent. Load the recyclers with industrial waste, metal scraps, and anything else we don't need." Dr. Kang looked confused. "Admiral, why are we using garbage as ammunition?" "Because the Reapers have shielding designed to stop standard galactic weapons. They've never had to deal with random debris traveling at significant fractions of light speed." The Void Reapers continued their advance, their perfect formation unchanged. Their sensors detected the human fleet's scattered positions, but their tactical algorithms couldn't interpret the seemingly chaotic arrangement as a threat. "Admiral," called Communications Officer Lee Yoongi, "Captain On Minjae reports that his rescue ship Hope's Dawn has successfully mounted mining charges as external weapons. Captain Park So-young's medical vessel has configured surgical lasers as point defense systems." Yang smiled. "The beauty of human adaptability. We can turn any tool into a weapon, any weapon into a tool, and any ship into whatever we need it to be." "Incoming communication from the Reapers," Yoongi reported. "Put it through." A mechanical voice filled the command center, speaking in perfect galactic standard. "Human vessels, you are in violation of accepted military protocols. Assume proper formation or be destroyed." Yang raised his eyebrows. "They're trying to force us to fight like everyone else. Should we respond, Admiral?" "Yes. Tell them we decline their kind offer." As the message was sent, the Reapers began their attack. But instead of the coordinated assault they had used against every galactic fleet, they seemed confused by the scattered human positions. Their weapons targeted the largest ship concentrations, but human vessels weren't concentrated anywhere. "Phase 3, Yang ordered. "All ships, begin pack hunting protocols." Across the human fleet, individual ships and small groups began moving in attack patterns that followed no military doctrine. They approached from unexpected angles, used civilian ships as cover, and modified their attack vectors constantly. Most importantly, they supported each other without formal coordination, like a pack of wolves surrounding prey. The first human ship to engage was Captain Kim Taehyung's converted cargo hauler Persistence. Instead of fighting like a warship, Taehyung used his vessel's industrial equipment to grab Reaper fighters with construction grapples and throw them into larger enemy ships. "What is he doing?" Vrextal asked in amazement. "Fighting like a human," Minho replied, using the tools available to solve the problem in front of him. Other human ships followed Taehyung's example, but each developed their own unique approach. Some used mining charges as makeshift torpedoes. Others configured their medical scanners to disrupt Reaper targeting systems. One enterprising captain used his ship's waste recycling system to create a cloud of debris that concealed his attack run. The Reapers, designed to counter organized military tactics, couldn't adapt fast enough to the chaos. Their artificial intelligence systems kept trying to analyze human patterns and predict human strategies. But humans weren't following any strategies the Reapers could recognize. "Admiral," reported Tactical Officer Bay excitedly, "we're actually winning. The Reapers are taking significant losses, and they can't seem to coordinate an effective response." Yang watched the battle display with satisfaction. For the first time since the Void Reapers appeared, a galactic force was not only surviving but actively defeating the enemy. "Dr. Kang, what do you think the galaxy will say about our tactics?" Dr. Kang laughed. "They'll probably call it the most unorganized, chaotic, unprofessional military action in galactic history." "And they'll be absolutely right," Yang agreed. "And that's exactly why it's working." The battle continued for 6 more hours. Admiral Park So-young stood on the bridge of her command ship, Terra's Hope, watching the final Void Reaper fleet approach Earth's solar system. This was it, the enemy's last desperate gambit. They had analyzed human tactics from the previous battles and were coming to eliminate the source of galactic military chaos once and for all. But they were too late. Around Earth, the strangest defensive fleet in galactic history had assembled. Human vessels mixed with ships from every surviving species, their crews trained in the fundamentals of human warfare. Adapt, improvise, survive. What had once been dismissed as cowardice was now recognized as the galaxy's salvation. "Admiral," called Communications Officer Oh Jae-won, "we're receiving updates from the outer system. Commander Kim Taehyung's asteroid belt defense network is fully operational." So-young smiled. Taehyung had spent the last month converting asteroid mining stations into weapons platforms, but not in any way the Reapers would expect. Instead of traditional fixed defenses, he had created mobile asteroid fortresses that could move unpredictably through the belt, striking without warning. "What's our fleet composition, Commander?" Oh Jae-won checked his displays. 230 human vessels, 415 ships from allied species with human-trained crews, and... He paused. 700 civilian ships converted for combat duty. Civilian ships? Cargo haulers, passenger liners, research vessels, even luxury yachts. All equipped with improvised weapons and operated by volunteers who want to defend their homes the human way. Dr. Park Ji-won's voice came over the communication system from the science vessel Discovery. "Admiral So-young, we've completed our analysis of the approaching Reapers. This isn't just their last fleet, it's their command fleet. Meaning, the lead ships contain the master control systems for all Reaper forces. If we can capture or destroy them, the remaining Reapers throughout the galaxy will lose coordination." So-young nodded. "Then we end this today. Captain Lee Minho, what's the status of your integrated units?" Captain Minho's voice came from the bridge of Unity's Dawn, his ship now crewed by humans and aliens working together. "Admiral, my crews have fully embraced human tactical philosophy. Counselor Vrextal has become particularly creative with improvised weapons." In the background, So-young could hear Vrextal's booming voice. "If humans can turn mining equipment into weapons, dragons can turn flame breath into starship propulsion." "Commander O," So-young ordered, "signal all ships. Begin Operation Last Stand." The name was deliberately ironic. Previous galactic last stands had been exactly that. Final, desperate defenses that ended in destruction. But the human version of a last stand was different. It meant fighting with everything available until victory was achieved. As the Void Reapers entered the outer solar system, they encountered the first layer of human defenses. Taehyung's asteroid fortresses opened fire, but not with traditional weapons. Instead, they used mining charges to hurl chunks of rock at incredible speeds, creating an unpredictable minefield that the Reapers couldn't navigate using standard tactical algorithms. First contact successful, reported Taehyung over the communication network. Enemy formation is disrupted. They're trying to adapt to asteroid bombardment, but we're changing our firing patterns faster than they can analyze them. The Reapers pressed forward, their massive ships taking damage but maintaining their advance toward Earth. They had learned from previous battles and were prepared for human chaos, or so they thought, Admiral. Called Tactical Officer Bae Suman from her station, the enemy is approaching Mars orbit. Phase 2 defenses are engaging. At Mars, another surprise waited for the Reapers. The planet's terraforming equipment had been converted into the largest improvised weapon in galactic history. Atmospheric processors designed to create breathable air were now generating massive electromagnetic pulses. Solar collectors meant to power colonies were focused into coherent energy beams. Even the planet's weather control systems had been turned into weapons, creating artificial storms in space that interfered with Reaper sensors. "This is insane," transmitted an alien observer from the Galactic Council ship safe distance, positioned well away from the battle. "They've turned an entire planet into a weapon." "Not a weapon," corrected Dr. Park Ji-won from the Discovery. "A tool. Everything humans build can be adapted for multiple purposes. That's how we survive." The Reaper fleet, now reduced by half, continued toward Earth. But as they approached the inner system, they encountered something they had never faced before. A completely chaotic battle formation that somehow worked perfectly. Human ships darted between Reaper vessels like insects, never maintaining the same attack pattern twice. Converted civilian ships used their original equipment in creative ways. Passenger liners deployed their emergency escape pods as guided missiles. Cargo haulers used their loading systems to grab enemy fighters and crush them. And research vessels employed their scientific equipment to disrupt Reaper communications. Most remarkably, alien crews that had been trained by humans were fighting with the same chaotic creativity. Draconian ships breathed flame directly into enemy vessels' exhaust ports. Insectoid swarm fighters abandoned formation, flying to attack like an actual swarm of angry bees. Even the proud warrior species had learned to value adaptation over tradition. "Admiral," reported Commander O excitedly, "Counselor Threx's ship just used a cargo net to catch 3 Reaper fighters and swing them into a capital ship's bridge." So-young laughed despite the intensity of the battle. The galaxy's greatest warriors learning to fight like humans. But the real surprise came when the Reaper command ships began their final assault on Earth itself. As they approached the planet, they discovered that Earth's moon had been converted into the ultimate expression of human military philosophy. Commander O. Jae-hwan led the lunar defense forces from a command bunker hidden beneath the moon's surface. His troops included volunteers from every species, all trained in human ground combat tactics. "Attention Reaper landing forces," O broadcast as enemy troops touched down on the lunar surface. "Welcome to humanity's home ground. Prepare to learn why we're called the galaxy's most stubborn species." The Reapers had been designed to fight organized military units using predictable tactics. Instead, they faced guerrilla fighters who used mining tunnels as secret passages, converted lunar rovers into mobile weapon platforms, and turned the moon's low gravity into a tactical advantage. O's troops didn't fight in formations. They fought in small groups that appeared from nowhere, struck hard, and disappeared before the Reapers could respond. They used construction equipment as weapons, turned life support systems into traps, and employed the moon's own geology against the invaders. Commander O called one of his officers. "The Reapers are trying to reach the quantum communication array. If they capture it, they might be able to coordinate with other Reaper forces." "Then we stop them," O replied simply. "All units converge on the communication array. Remember, we're not trying to win a glorious battle. We're trying to keep the enemy from accomplishing their mission." In space above, Admiral So-young was coordinating the final phase of the battle. The Reaper command ships were heavily damaged but still functional. More importantly, Dr. Park's analysis had revealed their weakness. "All ships," So-young transmitted. "Dr. Park has identified the Reaper control frequency. We need to capture, not destroy, the lead command ship. Its computer core contains the shutdown codes for all remaining Reapers." "How do we capture a ship that size?" asked Captain Minho. "The human way," So-young replied. "We improvise." What followed was the most unconventional boarding action in galactic history. Instead of military assault shuttles, human forces used construction pods, maintenance crawlers, and even escape pods modified with cutting tools. They didn't attack the Reaper ship's main defenses. Instead, they entered through waste ports, sensor arrays, and communication dish openings. Once inside, the boarding parties didn't fight their way to the bridge like traditional Marines. They spread throughout the ship like a virus, using maintenance tunnels and service passages to reach critical systems. They turned the Reaper's own technology against them, using their internal communication systems to spread confusion and their life support systems to create diversions. Captain Lee Minho led the team that finally reached the command ship's central computer core. With him were Counselor Vrextal and a mixed group of aliens who had learned to think like humans. "This is it," Minho said, looking at the massive quantum processing array that controlled the Reaper fleet. "Dr. Park, are you reading this?" "Perfectly, Captain. I can see the shutdown codes from here, but you need to access the primary control node." Vrextal studied the alien technology. "Captain, this is unlike anything in our databases. How do we operate it?" Minho smiled. "We don't operate it the way it was designed to be operated. We operate it the human way." He pulled out a standard engineering tool and began modifying the control interface. "If you can't open a door, make a new door. If you can't use the controls, make new controls." Working together, the mixed boarding party jury-rigged a connection between human technology and Reaper systems. It was crude, it was improvised, and it violated every principle of proper engineering practice. It worked perfectly.